Hey guys, CD Gaming here. I just wanted to make a little video regarding the different monk ascendancies for playing Ice Strike. Because I know a lot of people are probably going to watch that showcase and want to play the Ice Strike build that was shown. So just wanted to give a little bit of my information regarding, the differences between Invoker, Martial Artist, and Chayula. So, a little backstory. I've been playing Monk every league since early access launched. Probably will continue to play Monk every league. So unless it gets nerfed super hard into the ground, but I don't see that happening. So to start off, Acolyte of Chayula. This one, if you're going to be playing the Ice Strike Shatterpalm build that they showed, you don't want to touch this one. I'm sure you could make it work, but there's a lot of chaos damage and just synergies that don't really work well when it comes to the Ice Strike playstyle. So, not going to go in depth into the notables here, but just know it's all really chaos themed, and it's not going to be as optimal as one of the other two ascendancies. After that, we have the Invoker. So the Invoker is what we've been using for Ice Strike for like 90% of players. And Invoker is the elemental theme monk ascendancy. Whereas Martial Artist is going to be more of kind of like a jack of all trades type deal. So the main thing that you get from Invoker is going to be just these cold damage nodes that also help you with your freezing magnitudes, freezing ground, as well as Unbound Avatar. So Unbound Avatar is a really good skill, and it helps you apply all three of the different ailments really effectively. And when I say three, I mean chill, shock, and ignite. So you're able to apply those all really effectively for a short period of time. So it's a really good burst damage. You also get some lightning damage if you choose to go the shock route, because there are nodes on the tree that help you if you decide to go with the different elements. So if you've shocked, if you've ignited, if you've frozen, those are very common to take with this as well. The other nodes that are on here, some of them are just kind of whatever. So meditate, it's going to be a channeling skill where you channel your energy shield, and you can channel it up to double of your max, right? So it's fine. I don't really like it though. It's you kind of have to wait at the beginning of every single map to charge up your energy shield, and it's just annoying in my opinion. So it could be really good if you went for like a full energy shield monk with Ice Strike, but it's like, don't do that. I don't know. It's just weird. So the same goes for these ones up here. So Lead Me Through Grace, it's going to give you spirit based off of your evasion and energy shield that are on your body armor, but it's not going to let you get spirit from the rest of your equipment. So on like a high investment, this one can actually be really good, and then you can use your amulet and your body armor to get other stats that aren't spirit. So you do need a lot of stats though, because if you're sitting with like a mid-tier like 600 evasion, 200 energy shield chest piece, you're going to be getting less overall spirit than you're going to be getting from equipment like such as your amulet, which you can get a ton more on just your amulet, and then your body armor as well. So super high investment for this one to get it to actually be worth taking. And then this one I think is the worst node that Monk has out of all of the ascendancies. So it makes it so the physical damage reduction you get from armor is based off of the combined amount of armor and evasion rating, and it gives you 35% less evasion. So One, armor is already the worst defensive layer in the entire game. Mostly because there's things that can armor break. Like monsters can just randomly armor break you, so it makes it pretty useless. Not to mention, on Monk, you don't get armor nodes up here to scale your armor. So if you want to take this, you have to come over to the warrior side of the passive tree, which is far away from anything else that you want to do. So there's no reason why you would really want to bother with this particular node, because you can't scale armor. You're going to get armor broken anyway, and then you have less evasion, so all of your defenses are just going to suck. So this node, I think, needs like a serious rework. And then you also have the Soul Springs Eternal, which is, it buffs your meta skills, which are things like cast on crit, cast on freeze. You used to play with those a lot more. Back when early access first started, I actually used cast on freeze in the initial setup, but they nerfed all of those to the ground, and you have to really spec into that particular playstyle, which doesn't really work for Monk. So this one is also just generally avoided. Sunder my enemies is actually pretty good. It's usually the third Ascendancy point that I end up taking. So critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental resistances. It used to just say ignore enemy monster elemental resistances, and that would just nerf you, which was hilarious. Because if a monster had negative resistances, then you would ignore that, so now it would act like they had actual resist or no resistance, which is funny. But they made it so it's non-negative, so any positive amount of resistance will now get ignored, which is actually pretty huge, but it only works for critical hits. So most Ice Strike builds scale with critical hit anyway, so that's not a big deal. The last one here, and Scatter Them to the Winds. This one is just a worse version of Wild Strike from Path of Exile 1. So for those of you that don't know, it's just going to, when you do a crit, it's going to trigger this elemental expression, which is going to do waves of ice, lightning, and fire. However, you can't really scale the damage very well on these. So if you're trying to play Ice Strike, you don't really want the fire damage, and you don't really want the lightning damage, per se. You can get all of the ailments that you need from those two elements from Unbound Avatar. So I don't really see a reason. Maybe there's like a specific build that uses this that I'm not familiar with, but yeah, I don't use this. I never have for this particular build. So that's pretty much it for Invoker. So like TLDR here is you get some extra cold damage, you get some ailments, which makes it, like, you know, really nice to freeze, shock, ignite. Ignite we don't really care about, just for the buff though. And then now the new Ascendancy is the Martial Artist. And this one I have a few gripes with when it comes to certain tags being what they are. But we're going to go over that here. So, Runic Meridians, right? This is one of the things that drew me to this Ascendancy in the first place. So, you get an extra 5 rune slots. 1 for helmet, 2 for body armor, 1 for gloves, 1 for boots. So, this could end up being really good late game, but the early game runes aren't going to be very good. At least from what I understand, there's 160 new runes, so maybe there's something that's actually incredible. Plus, there's also the mythic campaign runes. But I don't know how early those are going to show up. So based off of what I know currently, I would say this isn't like a first passive or a first Ascendancy thing that you would want to take. But I think it'll be really good with the later runes. Now, these ones are where we get into the crux of my issue here. So, I initially wanted to go in and play Hollow Palm with Martial Artist. But So I'll just go over this first really quick. So Hollow Focus is where it's going to spawn a bell around you every certain number of seconds. And this works with any melee martial weapon or unarmed, so you can use this with basically any build that's not a spellcaster. They're going to spawn. They will always be crit. They're primed for stun. And they will be cold as well. Like, these are just like the triggers for you doing more shock waves. Like, this on its own is not going to be very good. And so the way I plan on using this is probably I won't spec into it until I'm available or able to get the Hollow Resonance, which is the one right after it. So most likely I'll go with the Fists of Stone and the Meridians, and then once I get to my third Ascendancy, I'm going to respec out of Meridians for the bells. But Hollow Resonance is the one where you put the bell on your back. And when you crit with other skills, you will cause the bell to ring, which will do a shockwave, right? My problem here is in the tags, it requires, so non-talisman is understandable. But why is there no unarmed? You can only use this with a melee martial weapon and no unarmed. So Hollow Palm does not work. Now, I don't know if there's some kind of balancing issue or some kind of like technical issue to where they couldn't make it work, but the martial artist is basically all about using your fists, but then they add one of the better nodes that you can't use your fists with. So maybe GGG can, explain that one, but that kind of, I have an issue with that particular thing. So if you want to use Hollow Resonance, you have to use a quarterstaff. Kind of annoying. So if you plan on playing Hollow Palm, I would most likely recommend you just play Invoker instead. But you could try Martial Artist with like the combo stuff that's coming up, or the Hollow Form. Speaking of Hollow Form, that one can be used with unarmed. And this one is going to be a channeling skill, and it'll channel whatever attack you were going to use. So you can channel Ice Strike, Whirling Assault, anything that you wanted to use. You might even be able to channel like Earthquake or something with this. Should be actually really interesting with Face Breakers. But you can also consume power charges with this to make it so you get additional clones that are channeling this. That are spawning when you're channeling this. So it's what? You get 2 images for each power charge, which you can actually get a lot of power charges in the area of Monk. So this is going to be pretty interesting. I don't think it's going to work very well with like the bells, in my opinion. But I think that's why they showed them off separately in the showcase. And then Way of the Mountain is one I also have. It's the minor issue with this one, is Way of the Mountain is not good for bossing. So with this one, you have a chance per enemy power to get Mountain's Teaching on immobilizing an enemy, which immobilizing an enemy is freeze, pin, stun, anything that causes essentially the monster to stop moving. So you can get up to 30 stacks of this, but you lose one when you get hit or when you use an attack that benefits it, or if you don't gain any within 8 seconds. So in a boss fight, you'll gain maybe 1, like within the first couple seconds, and then the boss is going to either be dead or the 8 seconds is going to pass before you get another one. Really, like, it's fine. There's been nodes in Path of Exile's existence before that don't work on bosses, but I don't know. I don't like that this is like the primary defensive node for the Ascendancy, and it doesn't work for bossing. So that's just my gripe here, but maybe that's just a me issue, and I don't know, something else will come about that's even better. Maybe the Meridians are going to have crazy defensive ability, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. Way of the Stone Fist is the primary reason I think anybody should play Martial Artist, because these are going to be absolutely, I think, cracked. And 9 times out of 10. You could obviously make it terrible, right? But these are going to be an insane upgrade for 9 out of 10 builds. So it's going to change the base type of any pair of gloves that you put into it. So importantly, it doesn't matter what the armor type is on these gloves. So you could choose armor, any type of hybrid armors, and it will change it to evasion rating and energy shield per level. So that's already going to open it up so you can pick up every single rare or white base glove that you want to craft on. It's going to change all of the stats on the gloves. So they showed some examples that were pretty interesting. So we got this one here, where it basically just gives you a bunch of extra damage as physical, cold, and lightning. And this seemed to be one of the more tame options. So I was looking at some things, and like there's options where you can gain power charges on crit, which is a huge thing if you're going to be spending your power charges. Or there's things where you can get onslaught on kill. So there's going to be a lot of different things that we don't exactly know just yet without experimenting. But what I can say is Thunderfist here. This one is probably going to be a very good option for Ice Strike. So right off the bat, it's going to give you that 300, 100 evasion rating energy shield, right? But then it's also going to give you global evasion and energy shield. So when a tag has the global in it, that means it doesn't affect the item. So it's going to affect your entire resistances. So 15% more global is actually kind of crazy for one stat. But then you get that onslaught, cold reses, whatever, and then percent to unarmed melee crit hit chance. So that one, you're going to want to stack that, as well as the flat cold damage, because that's going to be one of the better ways to scale Ice Strike, is with your flat cold damage. These gloves right here just seem like a very, very good option until you can find something that's like mirror tier with power charge on crit plus the flat cold damage plus melee crit. So yeah, how we get these, I am like 90% certain that you're gonna have to upgrade the base Thunderfist, which drops from Abyss enemies, or I don't know if it's just enemies, but it's from Abyss. And then you're gonna have to upgrade that with the new runic crafting system, because it's a required level 84, whereas Thunderfist is base required item level 65. So my guess is you're gonna have to upgrade them first and then use them with this Ascendancy node. But yeah, this node, really cool, and it's going to open up a lot of options other than just Ice Strike. But I think it's also going to be one of the best options for Ice Strike from either Ascendancy. Next up, we have the Martial Adept and Martial Master Ascendancy nodes, which are going to be these ones right here. And these ones are both related to combo. So you get additional combo when you gain any combo. Plus it gives you current energy shield recharge delay per combo expended. Plus you're able to weapon swap if you so choose with combo, which is not something that you used to be able to do. It used to be specific to the weapon that you got it with is what you had to use to expend it. But if you get Martial Master, you can weapon swap now and still use the combo. Plus you gain combo from all attack hits. So this is something they showed off to get that whirling assault damage going for the boss at the very end of the showcase. So maybe you want to use this with Hollow Palm like he was doing. Maybe you want to try it out with Ice Strike. I'm not entirely sure what I would actually want to do with those. Because, so the way I'm seeing it for right now, for Ice Strike you want the Fist of Stone. And then if you're going with Quarterstaff, you should definitely use the bells. So that's already 3 out of your 4. I don't think Mountain's teaching is going to be very good, at least for the purposes of Ice Strike. So then you're probably going to be looking at Meridians or Hollow Form. Now, I don't know if you like channeling, then you can definitely go with the Hollow Form. See how that works for you. But I think the Meridians is going to give you the most benefit up front. Because you can also, like on the passive tree, you can scale some of the channeling stuff. But again, that's going to be over here. So you're not really going to get benefit from the passive tree for channeling as a monk. So just a thought there on that one. But yeah, overall, I think I'm going to be playing the Martial Artists, mostly because it's new, but also because some of it looks really interesting. So if you guys have any thoughts, anything that I may have missed here, please go ahead and feel free to let me know, leave a comment. Also, if you enjoyed this particular type of content, please like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow. But other than that, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'm going to make a video regarding what my actual plans are for Martial Artist here in the next couple days. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.